Good evening, ghouls and ghoulettes. This is Drew.
Ariel.
And Maggie.
And you're listening to Cheese for Thought Podcast. Please like and follow us on Facebook and TikTok at Cheese for Thought Podcast if you haven't already.
Today is going to be an episode with moi, and by moi, I mean Maggie, and we're going to be talking about a case that happened 12 years before Ariel and I were even born.
Holy!
That's a long time ago now.
We're taking this thing back to 1982 and talking about the Chicago Tylenol murders. So I knew nothing about this one until I started researching, and lordy, what a horrible time to live in the Chicago area.
Well,
I found a lot of good info on this one, so I'm going to be splitting this case into two parts. So if you like the first part, please come back next week to hear the ending in part 2.
Dun, dun, dun. You get 2 parts of this, people. That's pretty cool.
On September 29th, in the year 1982, in Elk Grove Village, which is a suburb of Chicago, 12-year-old Mary Kellerman, that's right, 12 years old, woke up with a sore throat and runny nose, so her parents let her stay home from school that day to get some rest. Around 6:30 in the morning, Mary went to the bathroom, and her father, a few doors away, heard something drop from where he was. And when he called out to Mary to see if she was all right and didn't hear an answer, he barged through the bathroom door to check on her. Upon opening the door, he looked down to see her lying on the floor, unconscious and still wearing her pajamas that she had slept in the night before. When the paramedics arrived, they tried all medications they could to revive her without any luck. Mary was pronounced dead at 9:56 that morning. The medical examiners were in absolute shock. It's not common that a healthy young girl collapses to the ground just to be pronounced dead moments after. Later in the morning on the same day, just north of Mary's home in Arlington Heights, Adam Janus felt like he was coming down with a cold, so he took the day off from his postal service job. After telling his kids he needed some time to lay down, he went into the kitchen, and while in the kitchen, he collapsed right in front of his kids. He slipped into a coma at 11:54 that morning. The paramedics came to the house, and again, there was nothing they could do. Adam passed away within minutes of arriving at the hospital and was pronounced dead at 3:15 that afternoon. When his family arrived at the hospital, they were told that Adam died from a heart attack.
Was this like, how far apart was this, did you say?
This is all in the same day.
This is same day?
This is all in the same day so far. It's pretty crazy, yeah.
What year was this? Sorry.
This is 1982.
82?
Yeah. So my parents were 10. They were 10 years old when this happened. So, and I asked if they remember seeing this, like on the news, and they said no. So I'd be curious to know if my grandparents saw it.
I was going to say, at 10, you're not really watching the news, though.
Right, because this was Chicago. This is pretty close to
pretty
home.
close,
Yeah. Well, Arlington Heights is not that far from the border.
Like a couple hours.
No, not from the border. It's like a 40-minute drive. It's not that far.
Yeah.
Because that's where I got the eye surgery done, was in Arlington Heights.
Yeah.
It's not that far.
Yeah, so it's, very close to home. I'm happy I wasn't alive to see this, because that would be, like, tragic.
I can't believe it was on the same day.
Oh, and we're not even done yet. There's still more to come. So, after Adam's family heard the devastating news, they decided as a unit to go back to Adam's house to comfort each other. So he died. Now they're all going back to his house, and they're just going to, sit, they're just going to comfort each other, relax, kick back, and, try and cope as well as they can, I guess. As the family grieved together, Stanley, the brother of Adam, who was 25 at the time, started to experience some back pain and was on his way outside to smoke a cigarette when he grabbed his chest and fell to the floor. Stanley's eyes rolled backward into his skull, and he started foaming from the mouth. The rest of the family saw all of this happen, and complete chaos followed. First Adam, and now Stanley? Once the paramedics came to Adam's house for the second time that day, the same paramedics who were there earlier Now try helping Stanley.
Jesus Christ, the same, like, it's like...
Same fucking
the
house,
same,
everything.
the
It's gonna
same,
get
like,
worse.
hey,
Hang
you
the
were,
fuck
you
on.
were just here, like, okay, now...
I wonder if they
something's
thought the
wrong.
family was in on it. They're like, oh, this is weird. 2 calls from the
Well,
same
yeah,
house.
right.
You know?
In the same...
And that's
Yeah.
not even
day.
it. There's another one to this house today. So Stanley died at 8:15 that night, only 5 hours after Adam's time of death.
Holy crap.
Just when the Janus family thought this day couldn't get any worse, as the paramedics were transferring Stanley onto a stretcher, Stanley's wife, Teresa, who was 19 years old at the time, felt a headache coming on, and she too collapsed to the floor. Teresa was pronounced dead 2 days later. So this was the first death that happened 2 days after.
Instead of the same day.
Right.
But it's all the same family.
These three were
Well,
the
the
same
three- yeah,
family.
these-
Mary
these
Kellerman
three.
was a different
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
but yes. Yeah.
Dude, what a shitty, like,
Yeah,
3
you-
people in one day in your family.
That
like,
would-
that's
yeah.
horrible.
That was hard for me to read. I was like, God damn, this
You
poor
fucking-
family.
Like, okay, everyone in this household would be dead.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
never complaining about a bad day again.
Yeah, I'm like, holy fuck. Like, you thought your life was bad. My
Yeah.
God. So
So they have no fucking clue of what it
No.
was yet.
Nope.
no,
like-
and I'll even get into it a little later, but
Obviously, the coroner, it usually probably takes like a week or something. I don't know exactly, but it's probably like a few weeks before they get like
Well,
cause
no.
of death, right?
well, it's not that. It's the police thought there was like a gas leak in the home.
Oh, that
Oh,
would
yeah,
make
that would
sense.
make sense.
Yeah,
so
but
I'd go into this later, so you're going to hear this again,
Yeah.
but yeah.
but
they
that
evacuated
gas
the
leak,
home.
does gas leaks work that fast? I thought it had
Carbon
like,
monoxide poisoning?
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Well, yeah, and when there's 3 back to back, they're like, "What the hell's
Yeah,
going
that's
on
true,
in this
'cause it's
house?"
like
And they're all in the
Oh,
same
yeah,
house
that
within a
makes
few
sense,
hours,
yeah.
yeah.
Right. So a few hours prior to Jesus, I'm sorry, a few hours prior to Stanley's death and Teresa's hospitalization, Mary Reiner, who lived in the town of Winfield, started experiencing some backaches. She had recently given birth to her fourth child. She had recently given birth to her 4th child, who was only 2 weeks old at the time. Mary was the same age as Adam Janus, 27, and she was also young and healthy. Her husband found her body lying on the floor comatose and called the paramedics. She must have been in critical condition because she was taken off of life support at 9:05 the next morning and died immediately.
Jeez.
To the east in Elmhurst, Illinois, Mary McFarland. So there's 3 Marys. This is number 3.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought I was
Yeah,
getting
I'm
confused
like-
here. Okay.
I thought that was crazy that it was like Mary, and then
Right.
3 Januses. It was just crazy to
Common
me.
name at the time, I guess.
Must have been. So Mary McFarland died at the age of 31.
Jeez.
She was at the Illinois Bell Phone Center working the night shift when she told her coworkers her head was throbbing. And then minutes later, she too went comatose and fell to the ground, much like Teresa. She was pronounced dead at 3:18 the morning of the 30th. So we've now been 29th, 30th. Like, it's all happening
It's only
within
a couple
24
days.
hours.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
two days.
Right. Maybe
Not
a little bit
even,
more.
yeah,
Maybe a little
yeah.
more than 24 hours, like 36.
But
yeah.
still, all these. I mean, if you think about it, they say like I don't know how many people die a day, but like this, like the coincidence in that one area
Right.
I know.
of how many
like
deaths,
I can't even imagine.
plus the one household, like
Right.
Yeah. It's a lot. A lot's going on all at once. And yeah, and it's all in the general area. It's all in Chicago area. Like, it's...
Northside Chicago area.
This one hits close to home, for sure. Back at the Janus residence, like I had said earlier, police were evacuating the family and quarantining them because at that point in time, they did think it was a gas leak in the home. That's what they thought.
Yeah.
I would have thought the same
Yeah,
thing.
that does make sense.
Like,
Well, yeah, that's like.
Like, what else is there?
Especially
Easiest-
since they were so young, too. It's not like they had pre-existing
Right.
health
Yeah.
conditions. Or,
Right,
yeah.
19, 27, 25. Like,
31, yeah.
that's nuts.
Yeah.
They're not even halfway done living their lives. All right, unfortunately, but of course, if you've all seen the title of this episode, and as I mentioned in the beginning, this in fact was not a gas leak, and there had been multiple deaths outside the Janus residence. Once the home was deemed safe to enter, the investigators, police officers, and Helen Jensen, who was a public health nurse, went inside to take a look at what they were dealing with. As they were walking through the home, they expected the culprit to stand out like a sore thumb. According to Jensen, she saw one thing that did catch her eye, a bottle of extra-strength Tylenol sitting on a shelf in the bathroom.
That's some fucking extra strength Tylenol, like
Yeah.
extra
yeah,
strength.
yeah, for real. She brought the filled bottle into the kitchen and poured it out in front of herself and the investigators. They counted the pills strewn out in front of them and compared the amount they counted to the package size listed on the bottle.
Wait, is it you said pill or is it like the liquid? Is the liquid Tylenol?
Tablets.
Oh,
so the
tablets?
extra strength, yeah.
Okay.
Extra strength tablets. Upon realization that exactly 3 doses were missing for the 3 people who were now in critical condition, Helen insisted that the medication had to be the culprit. Everyone else in the home was skeptical. After all, Tylenol was the most common over-the-counter pain reliever during that time, and it was on every shelf across America.
Yeah, what, like...
And they probably took it before, too.
Yeah, like, well, going through, it's like, you're thinking, like, oh, it's just Tylenol. Like, the average person was like, oh, it's just, like, why would Tylenol, you know, it's just over-the-counter Tylenol.
Right, they probably popped it tons of times before that.
Yeah.
Day,
Well, they wouldn't have thought someone in their own family would have tampered with it or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that she was, like...
And how would they? Because there was other cases, too.
Right, and they didn't know about it at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the coincidence of the lady thinking, like, oh, maybe it is this Tylenol. Like, the average... person doing
would have never thought anything
never
of it.
would have
Yeah.
thought
No.
ever that it's Tylenol. So
No,
like,
you're like,
wow.
it's safe,
I hope
it's
she's
going to
not,
make me
like-
feel better,
well, she's
you know,
not
I'm
like
going to take
in on
this.
it. She's not in on it. Is it like the no?
Guess we'll find out.
I don't want to ruin it for you, but this case is unsolved.
Oh, so Helen.
Because it's like what? Why
So
would
next
you
episode, we are going to dive deeper into
Like, why
what they
would-
have found and everything.
Tylenol?
And
Like,
we're
that's-
gonna talk about it
it's
more
kind of
openly.
fishy that she thought it was the Tylenol. I don't know. It's my case. I'd be like, well, why would you just go to the Tylenol right away?
Yeah.
But she
You
was
know what
also
I
a
mean?
public
Well,
health nurse.
and according to the book I read, I did put it in the show notes, just if you guys want to read it. But apparently, like, they went into that home and they had no idea at all. But Jensen later said, like, I saw that immediately, and I was like, oh, this
That's the public
woman,
health.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the woman. She's like, oh, I saw that bottle immediately, and I thought it was sketch, but they didn't see anything like the first time apparently. Like that's how the book made it sound. I don't know how accurate it is.
But it's because of her background that maybe she had an idea of what to look
Still,
for.
that's kind of fishy.
That's
to
true.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I could see that.
But maybe it's because she is a public health. She's like, oh, okay.
I suppose if you specialize.
Some
in
people
it-
have their darkest secrets in their medicine cabinet. That's all I gotta say.
Well, I mean, it was just laying out too. So I mean, I would look at it
I
too
guess.
if it's just laying
that's true.
out.
Your
Yeah,
eye's gonna
that's
get
true.
drawn to like.
That's true.
Right.
Why is there Tylenol just sitting on the table?
Right.
You know,
And
I
Right.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would look at it too. Be like,
Right.
I wonder.
She probably looked at everything in and out.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Plus, she does it probably every day, so her eye's gonna
But
get
yeah,
drawn to the awkwardness of the room.
for sure.
So.
But like as I said, yeah, everyone was like kind of skeptical. Like, are you sure about this? You know, this is crazy. But if this truly were the case, then anyone could be the next victim. Jensen's theory reminded investigators of the very first victim, Mary Kellerman, who had died earlier that morning. At the time of her being found on the bathroom floor and transferring her to the hospital, medics had inventoried everything she ingested. And now one item on that list stood out more than any of the others: Tylenol. Investigators decided to have the paramedics ship the container of Tylenol from the Kellerman's home to the station. Upon delivery, once they had the bottle of Tylenol from the Janus's residence and the Kellerman's residence in hand, they called the deputy chief medical examiner, Edwin Donahue. They explained to Edwin how all these deaths were of different ages and different times. Upon discussing this over the phone, they came across a similarity between the two bottles. They both had the same control number listed on the bottles, MC280. The chief medical examiner told the detectives to open the bottles and smell them. Upon smelling the contents of both bottles and then both emitting the same almond scent, they knew what was in this bottle was not Tylenol,
Almond,
but cyanide.
What does cyanide smell like? Almonds?
Cyanide does smell like almonds.
Like
yes.
the nut?
Correct.
Really? I didn't. Holy shit!
Did you know
I just-
cyanide is even in almonds? And it's in other foods that we just eat.
Good thing I hate almonds.
I don't know if you have to eat like a whole bunch of them. You
Oh,
like
I
almond
gotta
milk
say.
though,
Well, that's
don't
like-
you?
I do like almond milk, but not in my
Well, that's like they say poppy seed. Like poppy seed, if you so
Yes.
if you eat a bunch
Yeah.
of poppy seed before you take a drug test, it's going to show up, but it's
Yeah.
like a false positive for
Yeah.
THC. But like, if I found out like, oh, we looked into it, almonds, like they just found out what almonds, like obviously not right. It's like, oh, there's like cyanide in it. It's like, well, I'm not fucking eating almonds anymore.
Right, so if you
Yep.
smell almonds,
Like, we
like
should
in
probably-
anything you're eating that should not smell like almonds, maybe second guess
We
that.
should probably take almonds off the market because there's
That's just like
cyanide in it.
rice has arsenic.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's just like,
Oh my god, this is like half my diet here.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's like
In other countries, it's
crazy
like
to me.
like China and Asian cultures. I was like, rice is like their primary.
Yeah,
like,
they eat it with every meal.
It's like it's a filler, like how mashed potatoes
Right.
for us.
But it's
is
like
a filler.
within the legal amount for it to be in there. So it's, I don't know.
Can't believe there's a legal.
Yeah, there should be no legal amount.
I wonder if it's like this in other countries too.
No, probably
It's
not.
just, it's just
Just
U.S.
America.
food.
They don't care about us.
Seriously, stuff that's banned in other countries is completely legal here. So.
I know it is over in Europe, like what they call it, red dye.
Yeah, the red dyes
over,
are
over in
yes,
England
yeah,
is
and they're legal here.
they cannot use
There's
it.
even people like here that have allergies.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do like other countries too, and they refuse to give their kids it if it has. Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Well, look what we do with Mason. We make all his food. We don't do any pre-made pouches.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do that, well, that's up to you. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna hate on you or for anything. It's just for us, we prefer to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I know what's in that.
Right.
That's,
Well,
what makes me feel
yeah.
comfortable. But yeah, there's nothing against feeding your kid anything else. But
Yeah,
it's just my preference. Yeah,
it's what we enjoy doing. I enjoy cooking. For
I do
them.
too.
It just makes me
it's
feel
fun,
like
mixing with like the different fruits and vegetables. Yeah, it's
Well, then we like cooking in general, so
That's true.
That's probably why we don't mind.
exactly. But yeah, so I was actually kind of curious too. I'm like, well, if they smelt the cyanide, is it like chloroform? Like, would it still like affect them? And they said a little, like upon looking it up, they said a little whiff or a slight whiff will not harm you.
Well, yeah, most people when they're not gonna.
Yeah,
they don't.
like,
I don't smell the med
how are they
before I
fine?
take it.
Yeah, but yeah, I
Yeah.
guess if you just have a slight sniff, it's not. Gonna harm
Honestly,
at
if
all.
it were me, I'd be like, oh, this kind of smells like almonds. Like,
Yeah, right. I don't think anything
that's
of
kind
it.
of. I just was like, is this a new thing? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
and I would have thought nothing of it too. I would have been like, "Oh, okay, they must use like a coating." I think it's part of the coating of the
Like,
I don't
other
know,
medicine
really-
smells like bubble gum. What's wrong with
Yeah.
that?
right.
I don't know.
Like my omeprazole smells like berries because it has that berry coating on it.
Tylenol
So
stepping
it's
her
like,
game up. It smells like almonds now.
yeah. All right, so then I went in further because I like to understand the situation as a whole, and I went and looked into the science behind cyanide, and I'm just going to go through that. So cyanide is a lethal chemical that takes around 2 to 5 minutes to kill a person.
Holy shit!
Don't get any ideas.
It was commonly used during World War II to prevent captured spies and governmental officials from leaking their country's secrets to the enemy.
Yeah, that's what Hitler killed himself with was cyanide capsules.
Yes. How cyanide works is it blocks the cell's ability to produce adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. I don't know if you remember this from science classes.
Nope.
Which is a source of energy used by our bodies to perform natural functions. When the body's cells stop producing ATP after ingesting cyanide, muscle cells don't get the energy they need, and the person will start to experience inconsistencies with muscle contraction and relaxation. The diaphragm and heart are all muscle. So when the heart and diaphragm can no longer function, breathing will come to a halt, which will then lead to cardiac arrest. So that's the science behind
Oh, that's wild.
cyanide.
Yeah, that is wild.
That's which is fucked up because it's man-made. Like,
Right.
it gets
bonkers.
Yeah,
I didn't know it
Let's
took-
create something that kills. I mean, obviously, look at mustard gas and all the gases in World War
That's
One.
true.
You can create
Yeah.
mustard
But-
gas with cleaning chemicals.
Yeah, and well, we're not going to say how because I don't want to knock on the door from Homeland Security after he listened to our podcast saying Guantanamo Bay doesn't sound like a very fun place. So, I'm just good.
I'm just
I
surprised
can
that
do that.
cyanide doesn't take that long to kick in. That's actually pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
2 to 5
Yeah,
minutes.
2 to 5
Yeah.
minutes. That's insane.
But it's like, how did these other people, they must have been in a critical condition, just suffering.
yeah.
Because there was 2 victims, you'll find out another one later. They both held on for 2 days.
Shit, that's a strong woman.
I wonder if their body is it because their body weight calculated into it, like the prescription.
that's
I
actually.
wonder.
I didn't think of
Because
that.
if the child passed away really quick, obviously
Right.
because she's a kid taking
Well,
extra
yeah.
strength Tylenol.
Yeah, and so did all the Januses.
But if, yeah, the
Except-
lady-
they were adults though too.
if I remember correctly, I think Teresa hung on for 2 days.
Yeah, I wonder if body weight or something plays into that. That's interesting. Why some died really quick and some waited a couple days to pass.
Yeah, so. All right, let's get back to the case now. Detectives did send the contents of these bottles to the lab for testing, and when the reports came back, it noted that some of the pills contained enough cyanide to kill up to 1,000 people.
In one bottle?
In one pill.
Oh, one pill.
Holy
wow.
Some of the pills in that bottle contained enough cyanide to kill up to 1,000 people. So in one little tablet.
Holy
Wow.
crap!
Yeah.
So that answers my question then.
Cuckoo bananas.
Well, how the hell did okay, obviously it's going to end later in the case, but like, how the hell do you get it into the tablet?
Yeah.
Was the seal broken?
I'm hoping we can get into this more next episode. I don't have it completely wrapped up yet, but there's a lot of stuff I want to dive into.
Like, because I thought it was like liquid. Like the liquid Tylenol when you first started talking about it. So I was like, oh, in my head I was thinking like... I don't even know
if liquid Tylenol was around back then.
I know, but
I honestly don't know.
Okay, so like the seal won't be broken. You just stick like a needle or a syringe in there into the liquid. Like that makes sense. But how the hell did the capsules get contaminated with cyanide if the seal wasn't broken?
So I will get into that later.
Or at time, like no, like not trying to call
what
it
if
Tylenol.
They were made like that?
Yeah, what if they were actually made like that or something?
Yeah.
Like obviously Tylenol.
Maybe they weren't injected with anything.
Didn't like do it intentionally. Something with the formula got messed up, but like how the hell does that happen?
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. So you will not be leaving tonight with questions on that in your head. So immediately after seeing the results, they realized they had zero time to waste and needed to share the news as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Take all the Tylenol off the fucking shelves,
yeah.
like
right,
now.
And that's not easy. Yeah,
no.
That's not an easy thing to do, but that does happen. But let me just keep going.
Like a whole recall. Like, holy crap.
Yes. Dr. Edmund Donahue held a local press conference to warn all the residents of Chicago and its suburbs that Tylenol was dangerous and not to, under any circumstances, even touch the pills. Cops also took to the streets since they figured not everyone was watching TV at the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Police and ambulance crews blasted the message through megaphones down suburban roads not to take Tylenol.
Dude, you know how freaky that would be?
I know. That's what I'm saying.
It'd be like, holy crap, is martial law happening or something?
Like, I would shit a brick. I would be so scared. And, like, later on, we'll even discuss how people talked. Like, they literally called their doctor's office because they had just taken tablets a minute before hearing this.
Yeah, God, that'd be the worst.
I'm surprised your parents don't remember
nuts.
this. Like, this sounds like a pretty big thing.
Right, and, like, we're in Wisconsin. That's not far from Illinois. You know, and it's definitely not far from... I mean, Chicago is a little... I mean, you're in there a little bit more, but... Yeah, how do you not remember this? Like, this would be etched in my brain at 10. And, like, look at us, because we saw the Twin Towers. We were in, like, elementary school for that. That's etched in my brain.
I actually remember that day,
like that,
exactly how, like, it was, like,
yes.
I can't remember.
So you would think something as big as this would
3 days
stay
ago.
in their brain, too.
Yeah,
But
can't remember 3 days ago, but I remember I was home sick.
3 days is generous. I can't remember.
Yes.
I remember I was home sick, sitting in...
I was in history class, I remember, and she had it on the TV.
Yeah, I was home
like, what is going on?
I was eating Play-Doh.
Yeah, I was home sick.
Not surprised.
Laying in my parents' bed, and I the TV was on. Like, I don't obviously when you're when you're that young, because I was in 4th grade. Like, I don't know exactly. Like, oh, well, like this is real, but like I don't know what those buildings are. Like, obviously an airplane flew, but like I remember like seeing it, and then as I got older,
and then they like turned it off. Like, okay, we probably shouldn't be watching this, and they would turn it off. Like,
second graders and 4th graders probably shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah,
that shit was wild. I remember that like it happened yesterday. When you start thinking about it, it's crazy.
So it's like, why? Yeah, it's crazy that Mom and Dad don't remember that, because I would.
Unless it wasn't podcasted as much.
Yeah, unless.
I guess if it was just in that area of Chicago.
I just feel like it's a big deal.
It is.
It
for
should
sure.
have been
for sure,
and it was national news, but so they had to that I'm killing that too. But anyways, cops went door to door with bags in hand, begging citizens to hand over any bottles they had. As the news spread throughout the Chicago area, as did the fear, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd be scared.
Right.
Doctors' offices and hospitals were drowning in phone calls, like I said, from terrified patients who had just taken Tylenol minutes before hearing the news.
Oh my god, could you imagine taking it?
No, that's what I'm saying.
And then all of a sudden in the street you hear like, don't take your Tylenol! Like, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, I just took
Tylenol. Like, I had a headache this morning, I
make
took it
yourself
already,
barf.
What the fuck am I gonna do?
Barf it up.
Well, the CEO of Cook County Medical Examiner Office spent all day answering the phone calls from concerned residents, and he decided to take a simple approach and calling these people by saying, if you're calling me, you're safe. He knew if cyanide was in the dosage they took, they'd already be gone.
Ah, that's true.
Okay.
That's a good point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're still alive, and you took it 2 hours ago, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably good.
This case hurt, and it's like...
It's just crazy, because it's such, like, everyone, you can just buy it. Like, it's so, like...
I know.
It's not, like...
It's so accessible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's not like you're getting, like, chased by a murderer down the street. Like, it's like, oh, I just gotta go get some Tylenol. Like, and I might die, you know?
And, like, I don't know, to me it changes the way I look at just over-the-counter pain medications.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
right.
Yeah.
How accessible it is for everyone, and
it's like how
it's sitting on the
did
shelf
Tylenol
like where anyone
survive
can.
this? Like how are they still around today?
And they're a huge medication still.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't go under because of this.
That's what I'm saying.
Because people were probably terrified to take it.
Yeah.
I'm terrified to take it now.
Yeah, we're gonna. So
I
didn't
like taking medication beforehand.
Ibuprofen gal.
Yeah. Well, throwing our Tylenol away tonight.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, because like the woman who just gave birth too.
Oh yeah.
Because all you can take is Tylenol when you're pregnant.
Oh God.
You know, and she just had a 2-week-old baby, and she that one hurt me, and the 12-year-old hurt me. I mean, they all hurt me, but it was just crazy. Like the more I read, the crazier the deaths got to me. So at this point, the tainted Tylenol had affected Chicago's western and northern suburbs, but had yet to breach city limits. But little did anyone know, that was about to change the following day. On Friday, October 1st, at around 5 p.m. in Old Town, cops broke into the apartment of 35-year-old Paula Prince. She was a flight attendant at United Airlines. After breaking in, she was found deceased, lying in the doorway to her bathroom with moisturizer still smeared on her face. Upon investigating, there was a bottle of Tylenol on her vanity with a single pill removed. Medical examiners ruled that her death would have occurred 2 days prior. So on September 29th, the same day as some of the other victims.
Okay.
Now that the Tylenol murders creeped into city limits, Chicago PD came to the realization that it was time to tell the mayor, only problem being that the mayor wasn't home. Mayor Jane Byrne had several engagements that night, and while she was en route to a party, Police Superintendent Richard called Mayor Byrne and told her about the flight attendant who died in Old Town and the other victims out in the suburbs. Byrne understood the gravity of the situation, and once she arrived to Symphony Center, she gathered her team into the back room and held an emergency late-night press conference, alerting the news stations, and had it broadcasted nationwide. So that's what I'm saying. They should remember this.
Yeah.
Like, it was nationwide news.
Right.
But, like I said before, like I guess when you're 10, you're not looking out to watch the news.
Right, and who knows, maybe like people didn't have the news on like they did when we were growing up. It was always on in our in our household.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it wasn't as common back then.
I guess when you're 10, the only reason you look for the news is if there's a snow day, you know.
That's true, yes.
What's the real reason of watching the news at 10? Like, you're not going to understand anything that's going on.
Right, I mean, like, for 9/11, we were kind of forced to watch it.
Well,
it happened during, the daytime for us. So
literally every broadcast, like, that's what it switched to.
Right, yeah. All right, so in her speech, she made a direct appeal to the manufacturer of Tylenol, which was Johnson & Johnson.
Yo, your shit's killing people. Like,
there it is.
What's going on?
She challenged them to recall every last bottle of Tylenol that was currently sitting on all the shelves throughout America. 4 days after the press conference, Johnson & Johnson recalled 31 million bottles of Tylenol.
Holy crap.
Which was an estimated loss of $100 million.
That's a lot.
That's a big chunk of change.
That's a lot back in the 80s.
But compared to a human life...
Yeah, that's
As part of the recall, they set up laboratories where they examined all of the recalled bottles and tested many of the pills that the public had turned over. Their efforts were all worth it, because Johnson & Johnson found 3 unopened bottles filled to the brim with cyanide.
Okay.
2 bottles were found to have already been in people's homes, and 1 was sitting on a store shelf waiting for its next.
So out of all those
in Chicago, it was sitting at a storefront.
All those bottles was just those.
There was 3.
Those 3 bottles.
There was 3 more.
Okay, well that's good at least. At least it wasn't like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good. That's not like a good thing, but like at least it wasn't all a Tylenol there, because that would have been freaky then. Like, how the hell did this happen? I'm
glad they did it, because that would have been 3 more deaths for all we know, you know, or maybe more.
Yeah, if it was another family situation.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Soon after, a group of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies came to form the Tylenol Task Force. Their job was exactly what you'd think it'd be: to find the person who the press called the Mad Poisoner, or the Tylenol, killer.
That's what the Mad Poisoner?
Mad Poisoner, yeah. Investigators made the hypothesis that the perpetrator bought bottles of extra-strength Tylenol and emptied a handful of the bottle. They then replaced the Tylenol with cyanide and screwed the lid back on and placed them on the shelves across Chicago and its suburbs on Tuesday, September 28th. That was the hypothesis they were coming up with. He put them on the shelf the day before these murders started happening.
Okay, so did they ask the families if who opened the bottle and if the seal was broken? Did they ask
usually
that?
isn't there like a film on the top?
The funny thing is, this is why we have a film on bottles now.
Oh.
We did not back then. There was just a single layer of cardboard you could easily just take right off and just put right back on. Oh shit,
really?
And it didn't come in a box either.
Oh, it was just...
It was literally just a bottle on the shelf.
Okay.
No tampering, nothing.
Oh, wow.
So I guess this is one good thing that came from this.
There was no tamper-resistant anything on these bottles.
You think they would have, like, okay, let's make this...
So,
like...
they put that into law. Every place
God,
has
they
it.
did
Yeah.
that. That's smart.
So good thing that came from
something
Tylenol,
happened,
or still over-the-counter products was packaged a lot different than what they are nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
crazy.
That's a fun fact, but yeah, it sucks that it had to.
Yeah.
That had to happen for it to.
Yeah, it's crazy because we're so used to it being like so securely packaged.
Right.
Now, like it's just wild for me to think that it's just like.
And I didn't even know
wasn't
that
in a cardboard
before this
box
case. I didn't even know that's why we have tamper-resistant packaging. I didn't know at all. But yeah, that's why.
Well, it's just so you don't think of it because it's like that's all we've ever known.
Exactly. Yeah. So their job was going to be difficult, however, because very few stores had CCTV back in 1982.
So that's home. That's
cameras.
Yeah, security systems.
Right, cameras. They didn't really have that at every store. So one theory was that it could have been a disgruntled worker seeking revenge. So the cops interrogated every former Johnson & Johnson employee. They also received help from the media and had the very first page devoted to the case. Journalists even published the schedule of the victims' funerals, hoping to draw the perpetrator out. While the Januses wept at the memorial of their 3 loved ones, undercover agents hid in the background scanning the crowd for anyone who looked suspicious.
That's so sad to have that at someone's funeral. Like, you can't even focus on the loss of someone. You have to have, like...
Yeah, they're there watching.
That's so
But they say that
that's
usually,
horrible.
like, the person that commits a crime will show back up to the crime scene or to the funeral.
Yeah.
That's actually very common.
Yeah.
It just sucks. That's
I know.
It does.
That's heartbreaking to hear because you can't even mourn in peace.
Yeah, right.
That's a gut punch. Yeah. Time was ticking, and the task force they didn't have any real suspects, so they resorted to setting up hotlines looking for tips. Within the weeks following these deaths, after all the tips came in, setting up all the stakeouts and getting all the media coverage, Chicago police still weren't any closer to finding the mad poisoner. However, across the country, in New Brunswick, New Jersey, on October 6th, members of Johnson & Johnson Executive Committee gathered together in a conference room and had another important decision they had to make.
Oh boy.
Head of security for the company had delivered a photocopy of a letter to the room, and the letter read in all caps, "So far, I have spent less than $50, and it takes me less than 10 minutes per bottle. If you want to stop the killing, then wire $1 million to bank account number 844-9597 at Continental Illinois Bank." And that is where we're going to end today's episode.
So did they trace they okay, we have
this is going to leave you guys a lot to think about because there's going to be a lot we're going to talk about next episode. Yeah.
So obviously it's from Chicago. The dude is from the Chicago, obviously.
Yeah.
You think they could look back and go to the bank and
that was something that went through my mind too.
Account?
Can't you look up go to the bank, get that account number? We're gonna come next week.
Unless you open it up with a fake name or something, I don't know, because nowadays you have to have 3 forms of ID or 2 forms of ID to open an account.
That's the reason nowadays.
Yeah, right.
For real. Yeah, I guess I'll let you guys know. So.
God, that's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm sorry, guys. I hate to do it to you, but.
No, you don't. You love this.
Yeah, you love this.
So.
That's.
Yeah.
To get that note.
I know.
Thinking that we have it resolved now. We have all the bottles off, and then okay, we can kind of breathe now. And then
and he's basically threatening to do it again.
Yeah.
He's exactly. It took me less than 10 minutes to do this, and I'll do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly what
it's kind of he's flaunting it in their face, you have no idea what I'm capable of.
Well, I guess So, was there ibuprofen back in the 80s?
I don't know about ibuprofen specifically. Aspirin was around.
Yeah, because he can start doing the aspirin. Like they're just gonna take all the meds off the shelf. And it's like because he has so many options where he can replace.
True, right? Because like all those other ones probably weren't tampering resistant.
I'm just curious
either.
what his end goal is here. What is he getting out of this?
He's
Other than the money at the end.
Bitch.
Well, yeah, right. But it's like, what gave him this idea to do it?
Money, like you said, money.
I guess. Just wild.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I guess to kill people for money, that's kind of screwed up. But look at.
Yeah, because it's not even like a ransom where it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to get like. I don't understand.
But can we have more information? What's your reasoning?
Right, and this case is unsolved. Like that's what's
that's
bonkers
crazy.
to me.
Oh, well, you know how hard it would be to solve that.
I just feel like the answer's staring at us right in the face.
It might be.
Yeah, but we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna dive deeper into this next week, and I hope you guys, enjoyed this one because this one's this
bit of a doozy.
For sure. I'm going to share a link on our Facebook page as well in the show notes of this episode of a timeline someone created that gave me a visual as to when and what was going on at different points for each of these 7 victims, and it put things more into perspective for me, and maybe you'll appreciate it as well. So be on the lookout for that if you're interested in seeing it. But that is a wrap on this week's episode. We hope you stick around to hear the next one. Creep it real, ghoulies. Bye-bye.
Bye.